Otherwise won the presidential election in Kentucky.
To Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, and Oklahoma. Missouri will go to Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
Donald Trump has been elected president, defeating Vice President Kamala Harris and making a political comeback unlike any in modern American politics.
Hi everyone and welcome. You have probably noticed how some political leaders like Donald Trump, for example, get a lot of attention and cause a strong reaction, both good and bad. His popularity and that of leaders like him is not just a news story. It tells something bigger is happening in our world. We are seeing a rise in ideas and ways of talking that remind many people of some scary times in the past, like in the 20th century. This is not just about one person, it's a much larger and more complicated issue. So, it makes us ask a really important question. Why now, in our modern world, are ideas that have a lot in common with fascism being popular again? Why are these old, boring ideas appealing to some people today? In the next 20 minutes, we are going to look at many reasons behind this, and there is no easy answer, but we will explore the mix of money worries, feeling let down by politics, change in our culture, and how our minds work, and the huge role of the internet and social media. First thing first, what do we even mean by fascism? It's a heavy word with dark history, and honestly, people use it a lot, sometimes without being very clear. If we look back in the history, fascism, like in Italy under Mussolini or Germany under Hitler, had some main ideas. Loving your country to an extreme, often believing in your own nation or race is better than others, hating democracy and individual freedoms, believing that society should be strictly ordered with a powerful god-like leader at the top, and wanting total control over everyone and everything, and aggressively blaming and attacking certain groups as enemies. Now, today's movement that get called as neo-fascist or the far right are a little bit different. They have adapted. Many will run in election and say they support democracy, at least on the surface, instead of blaming communists like in the old days. The scapegoats today are often immigrants or cultural minorities. But you can still see some common threads: extreme love for their own nation, talking about the people versus a corrupt elite, and a clear preference for strong and authoritarian rule. It's worth nothing that experts argue about whether fascist is the right word for all these modern groups. For this video, we are looking at the moments that show a worrying mix of this kind of features. So, why do these ideas attract people? A big part of it starts with money and job worries. Historically, fascism became popular when many people were struggling financially. Think about how bad things were after World War I or the Great Depression. People were scared and suffering, and fascist leaders swooped in with what sounded like a great solution, often by blaming all problems on scapegoats. Today, we see similar money worries. Globalization, the way countries and economics are all connected, has helped some, but it also left some people behind. Factories close, jobs become less secure, and wages don't keep up. Policies that favor big businesses and cut back on help for ordinary people, sometimes called neoliberalism, have made things harder for many, leading to what some like Noam Chomsky call a collapse of social order. Government cuts to service after big financial crises like the one in 2008 have also been linked to more support for far-right ideas in Europe as people lose trust and feel like there is not enough to go around. It's not about just being poor. It is also about feeling like you are losing your place in society or that you are worse off than you expected to be. This is called economic status loss. It makes people feel resentful and that the system is not fair. And for young people who can't find job or opportunities, these extreme ideas can seem like an answer. How do these fascist-like ideas use this? They give simple explanations. They say your problems are not your fault and they are not because of complicated global stuff. They are because of those peoples, and those peoples could be immigrants, minorities, or anyone they want to blame. It's a very simple story that can be very appealing when you are struggling. When people are worried about their jobs and money, they also tend to lose faith in politics. All over the world, fewer people trust their governments and traditional political parties. A recent big survey showed that many developed countries, more people distrust their government than trust it. Politicians are often seen as corrupt, out of touch, or just unable to fix today's big problem. This feeling of being let down is made worse by how divided politics has become. It feels less like people trying to solve problems together and more like an us versus them fight. Basic democratic rules like respecting election results or the rights of those you disagree with can start to break down. This is where the populist leader often step in. They say they are the only ones who truly speak for the people against a corrupt elite. And when things feel chaotic or scary, the idea of a strong leader, someone who promised to take charges, restore order, and make the country great again, can be very tempting. This is very similar to how historical fascism focused on all-powerful leaders. Leaders with authoritarian goals are also good at finding and using weaknesses in democratic systems and take more power for themselves, either by bending the rules or by making people lose faith in the democracy altogether. Culture and who we think we are, our identity, are also big areas where these ideas find support. A super strong sense of nationalism, often meaning that only people from a certain ethnic or cultural background truly belong, is a key part of those ideologies. This often leads to nativism, the belief that the country should only be for its original inhabitants, and xenophobia, which is a fear or hatred of foreigners. A very common tactic is to create enemies, whether it's immigrant, religious minorities, or LGBTQ plus peoples, or so-called global elites. These groups are blamed for everything that's wrong. This gives people a simple target for their anger and brings the in-group together against a common enemy. Conspiracy theory, like the Great Replacement idea, which falsely claims there's a plot to replace white people with foreigners, are used to spread fear and hatred. History gets also twisted. This movement often talk about a perfect golden age in the past that was supposedly pure and wonderful, but has now been lost or ruined by these enemies. The movement then promises to bring back this mythical past. Stories about how our group have been victimized are also very common, making people feel angry and justified in fighting back. This is powerful kind of identity politics create a strong feeling of us by aggressively attacking them. When people feel like society is changing too fast for their traditional values are under attack, this focus on a shared threatened identity can be very appealing. To really get why fascism appeals to some, we also need to look at the psychology, how our minds work. When life is chaotic and scary because of money problems, social changes, and political turmoil, people feel afraid and unsure. If our sense of who we are or our safety feel threatened, we're more likely to listen to groups that offer very clear identities and strong sense of purpose. Extremist ideology do exactly that. It's like a cognitive opening, a moment of crisis when people are looking for new ways to understand what's happening. Fascist ideas offer very simple black and white answer to complicated problems. They blame everything on scapegoats. Our brain actually likes simple explanation because they are easier to process, especially when we are stressed. This easy answer can feel comforting even if it's not true. Some people might also be more naturally drawn to these ideas. This idea of an authoritarian personality describes people who they like to follow, strong leader, or can be very aggressive towards groups they see as outsider. Then there's group where the group feels like a special but it's not getting enough respect, leading to anger towards other. Fascist idea about national greatness and blaming others fit well with these personality types. And of course, there is worship of a charismatic leader. These leaders are often seen as a savior who can fix everything.
And believe even more so now that my life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again.
They make people feel safe and guided, especially when things are uncertain. The leader worship, pushed by powerful speeches and storytelling, create very strong loyalty. Lastly, fascist propaganda works because it plays common mental shortcuts of our brain, like cognitive biases, paying attention only to things that agree with you and what we already think, or the bandwagon effect, believing something because lots of other people seems to believe it. These mental tricks can make people fall for stories that sounded good emotionally but are not based on facts. If these psychological factors are baked, then today's digital world, especially social media, is like a giant megaphone spreading these messages further and faster than ever. Platforms like Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and Telegram are now major tools for far-right and nationalist groups. They can share their ideas directly with millions of people cheaply and without going through traditional news channels that might question them. The computer programs or algorithms that run this platform are designed to keep us scrolling. They often end up pushing extremist and controversial content because it gets strong reaction, like, share, and comments. This can create an echo chamber or filter bubble where you mostly see opinions you already agree with, and you are cut off from different views. This makes people more divided and more likely to believe in extreme ideas. This digital world is also flooded with misinformation and disinformation, as well as conspiracy theories are also a great deal with those digital world. Extremist groups use this to recruit people, make them more extreme, and paint scapegoat as evil. The old propaganda tricks, repeating things over and over, using strong emotions, telling big lies, are now supercharged by the internet. People, especially young people, can get radicalized online very quickly. They might start on mainstream sites, then move on more hidden or extreme forums. These online groups offer a sense of belonging and purpose to those who feel isolated or angry. When big platforms kick extremists off, they often just move into alt-tech sites like Gab or Telegram, where there are even fewer rules and the hate speech can flourish. New technologies like AI, which can create fake videos and even virtual reality, could make this problem even worse. The sad truth is the online hate and division does not just stay online. It leads to more political division in the real world, less trust in our people, and can even spill over into actual violence. So what's the bottom line? Why are these fascist-like ideas making comeback? It's just not a one simple reason. It's a mix of many things working together. People are worried about their money and jobs. They are losing faith in politicians and democratic system. There are big anxieties about culture and national identity and who belongs. These ideas also tap into our basic human psychology, our need for a simple answer, to feel like we belong and to follow strong leaders, especially when we are scared. And finally, our modern world, digital world, and the social media acts like a giant megaphone, spreading these messages everywhere very quickly. This is not just something for historians to study. It's a real challenge for our democratic way of life, to our values of openness and tolerance all around the world. Understanding why these ideas are appealing in the first step to figure out how to respond. Not just by fighting symptoms like online hate, but by tackling the real reasons people are down to them, like the economic inequality or the feeling powerlessness. The lessons from history are important. They warn us, but also encourage us to be aware and protect what we value.